Welcome to the Political Matrix News. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, or Mr. and Ms. America, and all you ships at sea. This is the Political Matrix News. I'm Rob Milford. Scott Miller is joining us, along with Greg Fink, the usual troika for a Tuesday night. This is the 6th of August. There's not much news going on. Tim Walz. I knew there was something that would really screw up the news cycle today. Tim Walz. You'll notice that Greg, in sympathy with all the voters in Minnesota, where Tim Walz is now governor in his second term, that Greg has got the flannels on and the suspenders. He looks like you're ready to get out in the field on your combine and do whatever the hell it is combines do. Scott doesn't want to be recognized. He was wearing obscene black sunglasses. Looked like he was doing the Gene Simmons thing a little while ago. Okay. Okay, well, the opposite of ZZ Top's cheap sunglasses. So we'll go with that. All right, guys. Scott had the first joke this evening. Tim Walz, go ahead.
Oh, I just said that those guys are crazy if they think you're just going to waltz on in there.
Okay, you have a million of them. Go ahead. Let me hear number two.
Yeah, what's the next one?
No. It's your turn.
Oh, Rob, it's your turn.
No, Greg, it's yours. I host the damn show. You come up with content.
I'm sure that all the waltzing jokes are going to make themselves very self-evident, and they're all puns. And puns, as everyone knows, is the lowest form of humor. So I guess it's not shocking.
But Democrats,
shocking that that's what the Democrats. Because honestly, when I first heard that he was going to be the nominee, I thought they were joking. But by golly, not only is it infuriating me, or it's entertaining me, but it's infuriating the Democrats because the Democrats are asking what on earth. The one thing they can, as a matter of fact, one of them said today, and I'll look up. I'll get a credit for this little statement, that the one thing they can count on Kamala to do is make bad political decisions.
I think that's pretty good. Okay, Greg, what are you contributing here? The ballot of what?
That's exactly what I think of the entire cycle the Democrats are going to be going this year. It's going to be just like the deliverance. It's going to be backwards and scary. Backwards and very scary. Because we have this here guy named Tim Walz. And Tim Walz is by far the most liberal governor in this country. And he is going to take the Democrat Party even farther backwards on a rocket ship than they're already going right now with the Olympic debacle thing and transgenderism and everything else.
Stop. No, he's not going to take them backwards. He's going to take them. Let's see, how does this show up on camera?
Forwards.
He's taking him to the far left, way to the left, but that moves the what is that? The window they call it. There's some scientific the Overton window. In other words, by going far left, he goes way left, then he comes back a couple steps. Okay, that seems reasonable now. And the same thing with Kamala. She was the most liberal member of the U.S. Senate before she got the vice president job.
Exactly.
Tim was a member of Congress. In fact, I believe he was.
He was, yes.
He would have been in the squad, but the squad hadn't happened yet. And then he is. It's the Congresswoman Omar, who is from Minneapolis, St. Paul, the largest congregation of Somalis outside of the capital of Mogadishu. Seriously, and he is a big booster of Congresswoman Omar, who took her oath of office on the Quran, not the Bible, and did not swear to God, swore to Allah. But this is the same Tim Walz, when Minnesota was burning 4 years ago, wouldn't bother to send, extra state troopers or maybe the National Guard.
We had a video of that. And we're going to show the video of that real quick here.
Okay, hit the button, Max.
Denying that.
Okay.
Fix those issues. They're not going to be fixed with violence or looting target. They're not going to be fixed, and our mental health crisis is not going to be fixed by spreading false rumors about a situation that was unfolding. We had the tragic loss of 2 people. Did not involve a police shooting, and the situation has gotten to the point now where It's absolutely unacceptable. Having people's rights to peacefully protest, you've seen it and we continue to say it. We want to protect those rights. We want to create that space. And here in Minnesota, I want to say we came together as a state, bipartisanly, to move legislation that yeah, maybe did not go far enough, but it started to address these very issues. And all of that good work cannot be pushed backwards by unlawful behavior. It is simply unacceptable. And it's for that reason, in communications with the city of Minneapolis, when this situation started to go, that we use state assets in the National Guard, Joint Powers Agreements, DNR, and others, and use the executive order of mobilization of the National Guard. The request came to us, I believe, at 9:16 p.m., and our units are moving to make sure that calm and the space to have the important conversation that is ongoing, and the space to grieve when we saw Kenosha or George Floyd or St. Louis or wherever this is happening across the country. So it's not just confined to here, and it's an important conversation. But that conversation will never happen where violence rules, where people do not feel the ability to be safe. And those are things that we fully intend this evening to restore, and then we can have that conversation. So I can tell Minnesotans, once again, that this pain continues to come. We're going to have to continue as a nation to take these tough issues head on. We're going to have to continue to, as a state and as a nation, be willing to separate clearly the needs for positive reforms and the grievances and systemic racism that is driving many people to a sense of desperation, and clearly separate those from unlawful, reckless, and dangerous behavior that's not associated with those. And we can do that. Those two things are not mutually exclusive. So what I can tell you is we continue to get the update. We have time for a couple of questions. The state resources are being deployed as we speak in conjunction with the city of Minneapolis and Minneapolis Police Department.
So
yeah. So there you have
VP.
it. Yeah,
we have we had the former VP, or I guess now the current VP, who's raising money for the people with, just raising money for a get out of jail free fund.
Yeah.
And then we have this governor here who's basically allowing and thinking that the majority of the protests are peaceful. I have no idea. And then they still have the audacity to talk about J6 and January 6th, the MAGA crowd, when they keep saying that that's peaceful.
Yeah. Well, guys, I think I'm looking at it from a slightly different direction. Now, I have the sad duty to be older than both of you, but even I remember the controversy over a Catholic, a Roman Catholic, by the way. I didn't realize there was another kind of Catholic. And I've asked a Catholic priest, and I said, okay, what's the difference between Catholic and Roman Catholic? And he was like, well, I don't know. This is honestly a working priest right now, previously worked in Pensacola and is now elsewhere in the Panhandle. Anyway, it was a big deal. People were actually afraid that John Kennedy was going to take orders from the Pope. Not that Pope had any personality. It was John the 23rd. He was like Joe Biden of 60-some years ago. But they were worried about that. So I look at it, the one who probably should have gotten the job would have been the governor of Pennsylvania.
Exactly.
And what's his name?
Shapiro.
Right. Josh Shapiro. Josh Shapiro.
That name has a fairly ethnic link to it. What ethnicity do we think that is?
It is actually a state they could win. They need to win.
It's Jewish. It's Jewish.
He's Jewish. And here's the fun part. In order to make himself more appealing as a vice presidential choice, he walked back his support for Israel. That a liberal actor, Michael Rappaport, I don't know if I'm sure a lot of people know who he is. He's a very talented actor.
Rappaport,
he's a stay out of politics, but he's a talented actor. But his comment was, "Yo, Josh Shapiro un-Jewed himself publicly and still didn't get picked."
On the nose. And here's the deal. And And I made this point, I put it on Facebook, and I said, this really shows the Democrats are anti-Semitic, whether you want to admit it or not.
It does.
That is. I mean, this is the one shot they had to sort of, let's say, break the glass ceiling. And then, of course, some smartass comes along and says, well, now, let's see, the vice president's husband's Jewish. We didn't vote for him. The National Security Advisor, the Secretary of State, the Director of National Intelligence, and somebody else, they're all Jewish. We didn't vote for them. Chuck Schumer is Jewish, the leader of the Senate. I said only the people of New York voted for him. So I'm still good on that. I think the Democrats were afraid of what? Losing in 2 congressional districts. One is suburban Detroit, Dearborn, which is all Iraqi Muslims, Iraqi Muslims, and a district in Minneapolis, St. Paul, home to Somalis. That's it. So we've got to cater to this small group, about 250,000, and we don't want to offend them. When 2 weeks from now, when we're doing the Democratic convention, I'm not even sure why they're going to have a convention at this point. It's all done. It's absolutely all done. Everybody could fly in, rah, 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 fly home the next day, done. Really. What they're going to go through this basic exercise in public masturbation. Not much more than that, because they're political masturbation. But that they would blow over Josh Shapiro is very, very telling to me. And the big demonstration promised those who support the Palestinians and Palestine, and we hate Israel, and the Democrats are going to trip all over themselves denouncing Israel. And I got no use. I got no use at that point for the Democratic Party and all of those who are going to turn tail and run. And I think they're a bunch of chicken. I think they're pussies. They had a chance to make a serious statement. So what? Yeah, we're going to kiss off 500,000, maybe 500,000 voters. I don't think it's that many. Maybe 250,000 voters. And if you think that's going to make the damn difference, when what happened 4 years ago? Biden won by how many votes? 9 million, 27 million, whatever, however many ballots they could stuff in the freaking box. So that's it. I think it comes down to religion. I think it comes down to religion, plain and simple. What do you think?
I mean, I think when you look at the Electoral College of how Biden won, and Scott out looks at a lot of the polls that we had done and everything else, and the polls that were done throughout the nation, and how close it were. I think it was only 56,000 votes, really, the Electoral Colleges that really separated the votes. And so it wasn't really that close. I mean, of course, California is California, so that's where the several million difference comes in, is because it said California. But you take that out of the play, you look at the battleground states, and I mean, you got the 11,000 in Georgia, you got like 12,000 in Arizona or whatever, so on and so forth, and I think 11 or 12,000 in Pennsylvania. And so, I mean, you add all that up, you're not a very large difference. And so I think this is it's a stupid mistake on Democrats' part, and it just makes us really feel how racist they really are.
Well, it's a head scratcher, but it's nice to see that they were able to find an old white guy to come bail out Kamala.
They were, and they're going to be doing the Congo along with the waltz, and they're going to be doing every single thing to dance with the terrorists all the way to Election Day.
I just can't get over how the media gives them a pass when they do the exact opposite of what they are condemning the Republicans for not doing.
Exactly.
So that they are literally behaving the way that they are accusing the Republicans of behaving, and not a single person in the media is willing to call them out on it.
Okay, go ahead. Elaborate.
Let's go ahead and talk about compared to what they're doing to J.D. Vance. They had J.D. Vance at -16. And then they got this here guy who is probably going to be competing with J.D. Vance at -20.
Well, no, it's not. No,
if you even think the J.D. Vance numbers are even real. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, we have no idea how these guys are polling the VP candidate or what kind of questions they're doing, because, I mean, those are not even really relevant polls.
How do they have numbers on Walz this fast?
71% of the people polled never heard of Walz. That's today. Let's just look at this, and let's see where that number comes from.
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. Nope.
Oh, I'm sure those are registered voters. They may have polled adults to get results that fast. They may have polled adults.
No. You hear what he said? He said 71% had never heard of them.
I understand that.
The likely voters probably never have heard of them.
The likely voters are the ones that have a chance of having heard of him.
Yeah.
Because they're more engaged. But I'm a pretty likely voter, and I've never heard of the dude.
All right, at NPR, PBS, Marist. Who is Marist? Is that a college
That's
somewhere?
They're a liberal polling organization that polls for NPR all the time.
Okay.
NPR and the TV station. What's the
PBS.
PBS, yeah. PBS, yeah.
They published a poll today, Tuesday, the 6th of August, found that 71% of respondents had said they had never heard of Walz or did not have an opinion of him. By the way, this is the governor. Tim is the governor who came out after meeting Joe Biden with all the other Democratic governors three and a half weeks ago. So it's post-debate,
right,
and prior to Biden bailing, if he remembers, and came out and said, man, he is sharp. He is on his game. He's with it. He's getting more done in the morning than most people do, like all year or whatever it was. That is Tim Walz. So
yes,
directly lying face on to the camera. One of those.
Hey.
Well, when I saw his face, I recognized his face because they've actually had him going through a few of those things. But it's because he's the chairman of the American Governors, what's the Governors Association, or whatever they call it?
Democratic Governors Association.
Governors,
yeah. And so they were trotting him out, early on in this whole thing. But the problem was that he wasn't compelling, or at least they didn't focus on him long enough to give him some name recognition. From their perspective, he was just a guy who was willing to come on camera, who had some credentials that they'd say, yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. He's our man. He's a genius.
Well, I guess
he's willing to toe the party line,
right?
But that doesn't mean that he's even remarkably memorable. Now, Nancy Pelosi today was talking about what a great friend of hers he is, and I believe, I believe he's a good person to hang out with. But Bill Clinton was a good person to hang out with. He was a hell of a guy to party.
Yep.
That doesn't mean I wanted to be president.
I mean, I guess his background, he was a school teacher before this. I guess he had some problem leaving the military on some unsatisfactory terms.
I dug in on that, and it goes like this. He was, when you get to the upper non-commissioned officer territory in the Army and the Army National Guard, there are the various ranks. You have a master sergeant, which is 3 stripes up, 3 stripes down. That's serious. That's serious NCO.
Yeah.
That's that is basically the first sergeant, the top sergeant of the unit. When you go above that, when you get to the battalion level, the regimental and the division level, you have what they call command sergeant majors. First off, you got to go to the Sergeant Major Academy at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. Tim Walz never went. Secondly, you have to graduate from the Sergeant Major. You can take some of it, correspondence course, but not all of it. You've got to go out there to, it's really, I don't know if they teach you command presence or not, but it's what you have to do to interact with the general, with the colonel on a daily basis and not be so kowtowing. You're there as the chief enlisted advisor. So while he was, shall we say, tagged as the command sergeant, and that's a very specific thing, and he put that on his resume, command sergeant major prior to retirement, he was never really certified. He was sitting in the chair, wasn't getting the paycheck, should not have gotten the paycheck. Now, and the better part about it is he had signed a re-enlistment contract that would have taken him through 2006 or 2007. And then the word comes out that the Guard in Minnesota is going to deploy to Iraq. And that dog didn't hunt. And he had his year. He had enough years in. He said, okay, you guys have a good time. And he bailed.
So I know in a lot of military branches, I mean, whenever you retire, you get to claim the next rank higher. If you retire as a captain, and sometimes you can I guess they'll let you retire as a 05 or 06 or something like that.
It's called a tombstone promotion. That happens a lot to say captains or colonels, where they will retire you. It's like you are promoted to general your last day
It
before you
isn't different
retire.
enlisted.
It's a nice thing. You don't get paid retirement like a general or an
Right.
admiral, but
But
it's
does
a
that
nice thing.
so it doesn't happen for the enlisted then? So
Uh, maybe. I don't know a lot of enlisted guys that retired. All the Marines I was
yeah,
with in Iraq, they kept fighting. They didn't get
right.
out.
I remember a
They
few guys in the Air Force who would like retire as an E5, but their retirement would be as an E6 because they like had the 20 years, and it depends on different circumstances and everything. So maybe he thought he had a circumstance like that.
that's very probable. Don't you wish, Greg, sometimes that you'd stayed in the Air Force
Oh, I
and
would.
just think how your life would be different today. Think about that.
I
for
want
a
to know
second.
you guys.
That's right.
And
I
we
wouldn't
would
be
be
here with you.
poorer for it.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'd be sad. I'd be looking for y'all
No,
for all my life.
dude, you'd be a
In
plane
fact,
captain. You would have your very own F-22 or You'd be the master sergeant of the squadron
yeah,
of F-35s. Come on,
I could be playing banjo in the Air Force band.
you could be the
Yeah,
high-speed Fink. First
there you
Sergeant
go.
Fink, right
I
there,
actually had
baby.
the F-15 mechanic, and I love the Air Force. It's actually a blast for me. I loved it
Well,
every
it's not like they promoted you from an F-15 to an F-16. It
Oh
goes
no, I
that
didn't
way.
want. No, the F-16 was a worse engine to work on.
Yeah, it's got a Pratt and Whitney. I know.
F-15 was Pratt Whitney. F-16 was Boeing.
Oh, got it.
Oh, well, that explains a lot.
Yeah.
I worked on Pratt Whitney F-100s and F-150s and F-350s, and I did that for like 5 years. So
All right. On that happy note, which I completely lost train of thought, it's total derailment there. We're going to take a break. Our next episode coming up. Don't forget, with the Political Matrix, you can like us, which is nice, and we appreciate that. You can share us, which is even better.
it'll be shared.
Or, better still, you can subscribe, because it's all a matter of numbers. And
It
that's how
is.
the algorithms work. And the more that people like us and share and subscribe, and by the way, it's still a free subscription until we get like semi-famous, like Joe Rogan level. And then, of course, we're going to charge you out the wazoo for that. On that happy thought, on behalf of Greg Fink with his plaid ready to play the banjo, and Scott Miller not hiding behind his expensive Air Force sunglasses, I would be Rob Milford, and we are the Political Matrix News.